Welcome everybody to 2024 Configit webinars and tech talks. So just like in the last years, also going forward, we will continue to provide sessions for you, our audience, on the most interesting and market trending topics throughout the upcoming year. So in this very first session of 24, we're looking into a very thrilling technical topic of avoiding development bottlenecks using a no-code composable product configurator. And to share more light on this topic and the concepts underneath, I'm very glad to be joined today by my colleagues Heiko Markgraf and Michiel Roosen. They work for the Configit pre-sales department, but today they actually slip into some other fictional but also realistic roles, a product owner and a development manager for the Precision Bearings Inc. And we'll walk you through the reasons why they looked into no-code configurators, sort of what problems they solve, and insights from the implementation.
Thank you, Jörn. So let's introduce myself. So my name is Michiel Roosen. I'm now playing the tech talk in this tech talk, the product owner of Precision Bearings. And of course, as a product owner, I'm responsible within Precision Bearings for all the configurators we have in our organization. So I need to make sure when we have a new update, if in one of our products, I need to make sure all the configurator tools we have in our organization are updated. And also all requirements which come from the different sales channels like service or manufacturing, there are some requirements, specific requirements for the products. I also need to make sure that the configurator tools are updated with the newest requirements. Heiko.
Yeah, my name is Heiko Markgraf, and I will take today the role of the development manager, and I will explain a little bit how the composable configurator no-code platform has impacted my department, how we have implemented that, how the architecture looks like, and how the integrations to different systems was established. So let's start with the journey, maybe.
Yeah, good idea.
So can you remember the time when we had all these growing sales channels with all the individual configurators and product models before we had the composable configurator?
Oh, yes. It was, I think of two things. It was very challenging because we had so many different configurators, and also we had a lot of different Excel configurators built by different people. It was so time consuming and frustrating because if we need to do an update to one of our products, I need to update all the different configurators. I need to go to many different people. So it was time consuming. And also next to that, it was a high risk of errors because you cannot do it 100% perfect, right? So there was also a risk of errors. So
yeah, you're right. It was really difficult to manage. We also had required experts for all the systems to maintain these different configurators and so on.
Yeah, and also thinking of the bad performance of some configurators. So I remember we had some Excel configurators, and the product model inside was too complex for the engine. So it was also performance was bad. Sometimes it takes me 10 seconds to go to the next page in my configurator. So that was challenging. Yeah, but you came then when we started this project. Came with the idea. Yeah, let's implement a composable product configurator. Maybe you should explain a bit more.
Yeah, sure.
How you did that? Yeah,
I can do that. Yeah. So the idea was a little bit instead of having one configurator and one product model for each of the sales channels or other applications like PLM where we need the configuration, the idea was a bit to have one composable product configurator, having one for all the different applications integrated into it, so that we just need to maintain one instead of, in this example here, 5 of them. And what we also did is we splitted the composable configurator into 2 layers. So one layer was the more technology agnostic, which contains the product model and the configuration service from Configit, maintained by our modeling team. And the other one was more the technology specific part, which is kind of adapted to the specific user end device. And that's maintained by my team, the developing team. And we built up the UI for that.
Yeah. This was a really huge step forward because it creates for us one system to do all the product updates. And it's also nice to see that even my sales colleagues and marketing colleagues can also update their own things they want to change in the product model, but just log into ACE, our composable configurator, because there's a whole configuration management solution that has a lot of capabilities to do this. So it's nice to see that also the non-technical users can do that.
Yes, it was really a huge step forward, and it makes things way more easier. So we could combine all our efforts, and we could faster release some of the new stuff.
But yeah, we're also facing some challenges with this setup. So
yeah,
continue, please.
You're right. So the idea of having a kind of one-fits-all configurator was nice, but we also had to recognize that every user group has different needs. So it's some simple things like different coloring in the applications, a little bit different user experience, but also some more technical things like an engineer in a PLM system wants to see more a BOM solved next to the configuration, while a salesperson in a CPQ solution wants to see prices and other information. So they have also different needs on what data they see, how much details they see, and so on. And we had to adapt to all of that. So we still had one configurator, but depending on what is the calling application, we had to behave the configurator a little bit different, show things a little bit different. And what we also saw that all these requirements was had to be handled by our team. So all the simple things like changing a color and also the bigger things like adding new features, they all had to pass our development and deployment process. So we every time had to find a good balance between all these micro adjustments and providing new features. But then you came up with a nice idea of using a no-code platform. Maybe you can repeat your idea?
Yeah, because before we start the whole implementation, I read a lot about this no-code platform, so it makes me actually a bit curious. So I read a lot about these platforms, and yeah, I thought it could really help us. And but let me first explain a brief history about these no-code platforms, and later on I will also show you a demo about the first impressions about this no-code platform. Okay. Let's continue. So what is a no-code platform? Well, what we see these days, of course, we always want to make things easier and more efficient. So if you want to describe what is a no-code platform, it is actually a logical evolvement of a continuous development by making things easier and more efficient. And what's also nice to see is that Excel, and we all know Excel, was one of the first no-code applications, because Excel, here on the left side we see the coding, and we have Excel. We can do a lot of things with Excel. It was perfectly for people without coding background. We could easily create some small applications. We can create some data. We can make it easy visible, like we see in this picture, like graphs. And it's also a nice way to, if you want to prove something, that you can just create a small application in Excel to see if something is working before you will implement this in a real application. And also a lot of companies still using Excel because it has a lot of functionalities. But then if we talk about configurators, we are more in the web application area. So, and when we are in the web application area, we also have to do with CMS systems. So what is a CMS system? CMS system is a content management system, and it's actually used to manage the creation and modification of digital content. So that's a bit the area we are in if we talk about web application and configuration web applications. So here, let's talk a bit about the evolution about the web application development with no code. So we see here on the left side that if we want to create a UI website, we were very dependent on developers creating the code in order to create a UI website. But then we saw in the early 2000s and in the early zeros, we saw that the first CMS software platforms arises, so where we were introduced. And this offers us a kind of a data management functionality. So we could have a website, and in order to update our text or data on the website view, the CMS software offers us an UI to easily update text. And it also offers us a collaborative development platform, so we can work together with different people. And that already helps us a lot. But still, we were very dependent on the developers, because if we want to change something in the website UI, then we need the developer to do this. When we go to another 10 years forward, then we saw that the CMS software platforms also introduced a lot of plugins and themes. So plugins, you can think of course, things like pay system, booking systems, but also visualizations. You can just easily download plugin and you can move it on in your CMS platform. So that really helps us. And this is already an example of the first no-code capabilities. So we can just easily drag and drop these plugins into our website, and maybe we need to set some minor things, and that's it. And themes, of course, you want to have a nice website theme. That's also, you can just pick some already created themes for your website. And there were APIs available, so we can integrate to different kinds of systems. And then again, later, WordPress is, by the way, a very popular example of a CMS platform. And then where we are now, what we see now, CMS platform, they now also come with some intuitive content creation. So instead of writing code HTML in order to create a website, we can now have a more intuitive content creation display, which I will show you in a minute. And of course, what also now is available there is artificial intelligence. So we see now platforms with chatbots where you can just request what you want, and the application will create it for you. So that's really interesting to see. And if you see these symbols, so we see in this image that we are less dependent on the developers, and we see that the green symbol is stands for the product owner, or the more non-technical people. They can now do more themselves and are less dependent now on the developers. And nice to show you also AI, and Bubble is one of the it's one of the no-code platforms. What I want to show you a short video, and what they can now offer in their platform. And at Bubble you can create web application, a lot of different types of application, and here they also show us that you can just type in, give me an e-commerce storefront, and Bubble will already do you a lot of suggestions how to create it. It's already create some templates for you, and you can create your website. So you also see it with ChatGPT. You can just ask a lot of things, and you see that a lot of platforms are now implementing these AI functionalities into the platform, so you can do a lot of things with it. And I expect a lot of things from that in the near future. When we look to the whole area of where our of no-code platforms, then we can also distinguish some different areas of these no-code platforms. We are of course more in the application development, so that's more in the low, and then we also see Build.io, which we will use. But you can also think of no-code platforms or no-code capabilities more in the customer service CRM. For example, Salesforce, it's not a no-code platform itself, but it offers us a lot of no-code functionalities. Because in Salesforce, you can, for example, create dashboard for different kind of users. You can create nice tables without coding. So you can already create some tiny applications. We also see it in the marketing area. So there we have, for example, HubSpot. I remember from my previous company, they use HubSpot, for example, for creating websites, and also without by marketing people who don't have any coding background. So I think it's time to just show you a bit of how I started with no-code platform, and that's with Build.io. And so let me show you how I did it. So what we see here is the no-code platform, and it's a no-code platform. So we see already here some pages, and these pages stands for the different UIs we have. And one of the things I want to create now is creating a new page, because I want to, for our bearings, precision bearings website, I want to create a front page for where the people can click on the configurator, so they go to the configurator page. But before that, I will create a front page. So now I'm Builder. I can this is my whole field I can work. So now I can add a block, and here I can choose a lot of different templates. And one of the templates section is, for example, the menu bar. So I will pick this menu bar, so as you see here, and I can now just change some colors. For example, here I will change the background color. And what I also will do is change some fonts. So I can, of course, do it myself, but I can also just select some templates and just changing those templates. Why should I create something which is already created by someone else? So here I change the font, for example, and let's add some others. So I will also pick a template to more finalize the website. So I will choose this one in the middle, and then I change some text. So I replace the text by position bearings, and I change some buttons. So I want to have a button configure now, so I can go to the configurator, which I will build in a few moments, and change some images. And when I'm ready, I will publish this website, which means first I will save this menu bar I changed for another template so I can reuse it for my configurator. And so when I'm done, I can test this website. So I will publish it. And once I'm published it, I'm able to see the preview. And then it creates for me a live page. And then I can just see what I can do, just see if everything works.
It was really impressive what can be done without coding and so on, and how fast it can be done.
So quick,
nice,
right? Yeah. It's really cool, yeah. And I also expect a lot of AI, what I already told, because AI, I think it has a really great impact on these no-code platforms, because what you want to do is make things more easier, and AI can, of course, really help us with it. Yeah, but still, this is only a website you see here, and we miss, of course, something. We miss, of course, the configurator still. But that's really, when I start with it, I did not find out how to do it. But you had some ideas how to implement more advanced codes, more advanced functionalities in this no-code, right?
Yeah, you're right. The most no-code platforms, they are kind of tailored with some standard control. They are optimized for database-driven applications and simple things. But for product configurator, we need some interaction with the configuration engine. We need some special controls to select options, to show information on the options and so on, showing a bomb, for example. And what we did, we changed our architecture a little bit, and we created some components you can use in the no-code platform. So there are some handles to extend the standard controls with some custom controls. And I can go a little bit into details how we did that.
Yep, great.
So that was kind of the situation we left up at the end of the composable product configurator with a classical developed configurator UI. And what we now did with the no-code platform is we created a kind of layer in between. So we have now the no-code platform in between the UI and the components we are creating. So the development team is no longer responsible for creating a complete application. They are more responsible for creating components which can be used in the no-code platform. And then we have defined also one person from each of the user groups as key user, who is responsible for maintaining the templates for the different applications. So that, for example, an engineer, so some engineering person, for example, maintains a template for the PLM system, and a salesperson for the CPQ solution, for example. They're all using the same components. And the nice one is that the development team can now focus on delivering new cool features and functions into the components. And all these small changes, like I want to have a component from left side to the right side, I want to have the color changed, I need a new logo shown here, and something like that, can be done by the key users very easy, very simple, and can be deployed in less than a day. And they don't need to pass anymore the whole development process. And if you look a little bit more into the no-code platform and the UI components, so if you change the picture a little here, we can now see in the red box the green components. So we have created some components, for example, the navigation pane, which typically shows a different grouping of selections, the configuration pane, which shows the different characteristics you can select, the info pane for additional text and images, or visualization pane. And all these different components will be made available in the toolbox of the no-code platform, and from there can be drag and drop into any of the templates. And in order to customize them also in coloring, style, and how it should appear, we also offered some settings. So there might be some layout settings where you can change the coloring and design of it, but we also added some API and application settings so that you also can connect the UI template to the developer instance of our configuration service, so that for new features and functions we're creating in the product model, you already can test it how it looks in the UI, or you can also connect it to the productive environment in case you want to fix something which does not work perfectly. Yeah, and that's the way how we have extended the capabilities of the no-code platform in order to make it possible to create interactive product configurators. And what we also saw, there are some benefits out of that. One benefit was that now the effort to adjust the UI is distributed to 2 teams instead of having it all on one. So that simple adjustments can be done by the key users, and new features and functions can be delivered by the development team. We can focus more on components, and we can also release components each individual and have no longer a monolithic application we have to release. We can now, the key users can do without developers. And also a benefit we saw is that the key users better understand the needs of the end user using the configurator, so they can easily understand it and implement it. And developers sometimes required a little bit more information what exactly the end user needs. And as we saw, there are, it feels like, millions and billions of no-code platforms out there. The nice one is our configuration platform we used could directly connect to more or less any of them via the open API concept. So we just had to find the right platform for our needs. So we was not limited by the configuration engine at that point. And what we saw is that there are some must requirements, so to speak, something the no-code platform has to fulfill in order to be able to handle a product configurator. And one of these things was that we had that we needed the capability for custom UI components, so these selection of options, showing a BOM, and so on. So these are not functionalities or components no-code platform has today. Also nice was that capability to add custom properties and settings to the components and the overall template, so that we also can put in the API connection data or some coloring customizings into the custom properties. We need, of course, the capability to integrate it. So we don't want to create a standalone application. We want that these configurator is part of the CPQ solution of the PLM and so on. So it has to be opened by the system and return information to the system. It has to be integrated into them. As we had multiple sales channels, we also required multiple templates to be created. And of course, single sign-on is quite important, so that also the solution is secured. And additionally to the must requirements, we also identified some kind of nice to have requirements or individual requirements. So some requirements which are very depending on the company looking at it. So you might rate it quite different to how I have rated it. So for example, one question you have to ask yourself is do you want to introduce a no-code platforms for the whole organization, or is it just for the configurator? So that might limit the options you have to select the no-code platform. And then of course the no-code platform has to fit to your used development technology. So we used, for example, React as a component framework. So we required one for React. If you use a different framework, maybe you will better in using a different no-code platform. Additional features is also a question. So do you need any kind of database content management functionalities? Do you want to make use of AI support? Do you need any kind of A/B testing capabilities and so on? So also these additional functionalities is something you have to look into, which of these are most important for you. Standard connectors can be very helpful. So if you, for example, want to get in some opportunity data from your CRM system, and if the no-code platform offers already some standard connectors or components to deal with opportunity data, that can of course accelerate the creation of templates and components. Your personal impression is, of course, very important. Once from the coding side, so the developer impression, how to create these custom components, how simple is that, but also from the end user view, so how simple is it to work with the no-code platform, is it intuitive for you, and so on. And every one of us might have a little different experience here. And last but not least, community documentation training is also very important, because you need some help here and there, and you want to look up for solutions, maybe as I have already done.
Yeah, I also really like the custom components, because that was really the key for us to have these ones, because I knew how to create just a simple website, but I needed these custom components in order to have some more advanced functionality. So I work together with one of our developers, and when I want something, some requirements, for example, some BOM functionality, I just ask my developer, can you please code that? And then he makes sure that it is available on the no-code platform, so I can easily drag and drop the custom component into the UI. That was really great.
Yeah, excellent. That was really great advantage, and we also can easily reuse these components in configurators and also in all other applications where we need to use configuration details and data. They also can reuse it. So if you really think about a company-wide usage, it can be also helpful for other areas.
Absolutely.
But maybe we have now seen enough slides and architecture and all these things. I'm pretty sure they now want to see some examples of how the no-code configurator looks for us.
Let me first explain a bit how we, you talk about how we integrated this no-code platform into our composable configurator, ACE. Let me show how it looks like. But before I will do that, let me first explain a bit about the this is also about the architecture. We have the no-code platform, and of course we have, on the other hand, we have composable configurator with our product model, with our logic and data. But if we want to keep using one product model and we want to have multiple different UIs, one for PLM configurator and one for service, one for manufacturing, I have a website configurator and a PLM configurator. Those are two examples. How would you do that? Well, in ACE, we will then work with two different kind of views. So we will integrate this no-code platform into the composable configurator. And in ACE, we will set up two different views. One view for the website configurator, that's one of the examples I will show you, and one for the PLM BOM configurator. So, and then these two examples, website configurator, we will integrate this to no-code platform, and then the PLM also to no-code platform. And with an UI settings page, I will show you in a minute, I can integrate this one to ACE. So let's see how that looks. So here we see ACE, that's a composable configurator. So we see here our product model. And when I go into this product model, we of course have some data and some logic, what you can expect from a configuration model. So the data is here under the features and families. So here we see, for example, the bearing data, like the ABEG rating and some inside diameter data. And on the other hand, we have the logic, the rules. So one example is some tables here, and also one table like the ABEG rating table. But one important thing for the UIs, different UIs, is the views. So when we go to the views, we see here the different views we have for different configurators. So if you have 10 different configurators, it could be that you have here 10 different kind of views. So it could be that you have one CPQ view, and in this case, I will show you the website view and the PLM configurator view. When I open this web view, we see an overview of different sections. So all questions are always within a section, which you will also see in a moment in the configurator. And this view you can of course change for each configurator. So website configurator should contain more easy questions, because it's also for maybe the prospects who just want to experience your product. So you can drag and drop these questions into the view, and you can remove them easily. You can change the names. And when we look a bit to the other view, so to our PLM view, our PLM BOM configurator view, it's the same product model, the same questions, but I ordered them in a total other, total other way. So an other, also the section names are a bit different. So when I go back to Builder.io, so in the no-code platform, we see next to the pages of the UI, we also see UI settings pages. So when I go, for example, into this bearing model website UI setting, and I need to click, And so you can add a lot of settings. So one of the settings could also be colors. That's just some meta data settings. So here you will set up the URL of the composable configurator. That's in this case ACE, so what I showed you here. But next to that, we also have the package and the product model you want to refer. And we now, in this example, I have the same product model, but I use for the different configurators 2 different views. And this is the web view, as we see here. And if I go back to the PLM UI settings, we have the same data, I mean the same fields to enter the data. And this API key and the URL of the composable configurator are the same, and the product model is also the same. But this PLM view, this one, that's different. This is now PLM view, so that's referring to another view. Yeah, so that's one thing. So that's about the how to create a connection. And when we go, I just created now a sandbox page. So when I go into the UI page and I want to make the connection with the data, I can say in this page, okay, connect to data. I select the UI settings and I select now the right page. So I pick here an entry, and in this case, I will select the website, for example, or the PLM. Let's take the PLM. So now in the background, it's now connected to PLM UI settings, and then I can continue starting with creating my configurator. So when continue, of course, this is a picture Heiko already showed us. And here we see the custom component. So if I want to create the configurator, I need to have the advanced functionalities, and they will show up in the UI in the menu bar. And as I already explained, when I need some additional functionality, for example, the bond pane is the last custom component we create, I can ask the developer and he makes sure it will be available in the menu bar. So let's see how that looks like. I now created this UI page. So I make sure that I have the areas in place where I will show the navigation of the configurator, the different sections I want to go. And this middle box is where I want to show the questions. And when I'm done with creating these boxes and the right backgrounds, it's time to create these custom components. And as you see here on the right, we have 4 different ones, which were already created. So one is the navigation pane. And this navigation pane we can now quite easily drag and drop into my UI. And as you see, we also have the configuration pane that will become next to the navigation. But okay, let's first drag and drop this navigation pane. And then you see, if I change the background here, that you already see this different sections. So design your bearing was the first section. And now I can change the font, I can change the size a bit. And next to the navigation pane, I want to add the configurator with the questions, of course. And it's also nice for the user that if he creates if he configures, that he also will see a summary, so he sees what he has configured. So let's also drag and drop the summary pane into the UI. This looks very ugly, I would say. So of course, I already created a template for this one. So let's erase this all and let's import the template I already created with these different custom components already in place. So I go to my templates, and here I go to the right template. It's somewhere here, yeah. And I drag and drop my template here, and now you see it's all it's a bit better aligned. And I change the font and make sure that the coloring is correct, things like that. So I can now publish this website, and let's review it. My current draft, yes. And now I can just see if everything works, if everything is the way I want. And so let's click some things. Yeah, the summary is also working, so this works pretty well. And you also saw that I can already configure also already in this page, so that's also nice. So for position bearings, we needed the Webster configurator, but I also wanted to have the PLM configurator, and it's referring to the same model, but as you see here, it has some total other colors. And now here I will drag and drop my last custom component, that's the bill of material. That's our newest custom component, which was recently built by our developer. So I changed the font a bit. And you see here that also the section names are different from the other ones, because this is another view of the same product model which I created here. And that's because I have linked this page to another UI settings page. And now I can just also test. So let's enter some diameters and see if the BOM is solved. Yeah, so the BOM will be solved. And if I select more, okay. So here we see the different how it works. So I can also select here some other ones. Yeah, now more BOM items are solved. So that's one thing. The last thing I wanted to show you also is how we do changes. So if I now want to change a question, or I want to remove some questions, then I need to go to the Composable configurator to do that, of course. So let's go back to ACE. And ACE, here we have the product model again, and I go to views again. And here I want to change a bit on the website view. So let's go, we see again here the different views, and in this website view I can edit the view. And when I want to, okay, let's change this name of the design bearing. Let's remove this your and just design bearing. Apply. And maybe it's also nice to make it a bit more simple. So I will drag and drop a lot of questions. Let's drop them to the first section, and let's remove this view. Okay, then it's just in the Composable configurator, ACE in this case, we save this view, we compile again, and when we are done with compiling, it's just a matter of refreshing. So I will now go back to Builder, and here we are, and I will click here on the refresh button, and let's see if it works. Yeah, so refresh me preview, and we see now, of course, that's I now only see the 3 sections. So it's now only design bearing, and in the meantime I also change some images. I think that would also be nice. So now it's changed. So this is actually how easy it is. So you can now, without coding, you can just easily make some changes to the configurator. This is what I wanted to show, and I think we will go to the summary.
Yeah, that's great achievement of what we have here. So we have now seen from the Composable product configurator, the configuration service maintained by our modeling team. We are the UI components created by our developers for the different end devices maybe. So we now have seen a website configuration. If you want to bring that on a mobile device or on other devices in the future, it might be just a matter of changing the template or adding some responsiveness to the UI itself. And then we have the key users who maintaining all the different UI templates for the various applications so that it looks different. So we have seen 2 different examples here, one for a website and one more for a PLM view with different components shown, but also some similar one, but also different coloring and so on. So they are slightly different, but underneath using the same components, using the same product model underneath. That means in the green and red boxes, we have 1 time the effort to maintain it. And on the other side, we can create very individual UI, UIs with just in a second feels like.
Yep. True.
Good. Yeah, so that's the content of the Tech Talk. Jörn, we had some questions. I think we have some time.
Let's look at the first question here. The person is actually saying, sticking to your example of the bearings company, what are the actual steps to implement a no-code platform?
Yeah, let me think about that. So the nice thing, what we can say is we started on a very good base. We already had this Composable product configurator, which was split into 2 layers, the configuration service from Configit and the UI. So that really was a great starting point, because we just could replace the UI layer and keep all the product models and configuration engine underneath. And then it was more a matter of kind of refactoring type of thing. So we had to learn a little bit of how to provide the components into the no-code platform, but then we just had to isolate the components and make the components a little bit more configurable and with the settings and so on, and provide these information to the no-code platform. And then your team has taken over.
Yeah, we also, what we first did is of course, you need to get used to the new no-code platform. So we did some hands-on training. That's of course also an important step, to have some hands-on training. And next step is, of course, start creating your templates. And the first templates, you spend a lot of time to the first template, or not a lot of time, more time than the rest, because if you have some templates, you can reuse them, of course. So the first templates were a bit more time consuming. But that's really the first step. So training, learning, and creating the templates, and then we can start building, continue building. Yeah,
it's more copy and paste.
It's more copy paste. Yeah, exactly.
Great, thanks for the insightful answer. Yeah,
I hope that's a good answer.
So there's another question here. It says, is it possible to add visualization into a no-code platform?
I think
who wants to go with the question? The more technical guy or the product owner?
Yeah, as I mentioned, if you want to add more advanced functionalities to the no-code, you would just think of creating another custom component. So when I can think of a visualization component, right, to also drag and drop into. First, you need to code it, but
that's right. We would use configuration technology, for example, from Unity, and then we could kind of capture it into a component connected to the configuration, and then you could drag and drop it and place it the same way. And similar, as we have seen that the info pane has updated based on what you have selected. Automatically also the configuration will be handed over to the visualization, and it could update and show the new visualization based on what you have selected. So that would be technical, I think not a big problem.
So I think we can cover two more. So did you solve everything with no code capabilities, it says, or have you also used some low code capability? Who would like to answer that question?
Shall I?
For you, yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of things I did with no code. So what you've seen so far, I did with no code. But maybe first, the difference between no code and low code. No code is that you don't need code at all to just design something. So actually, what I showed you in the beginning, so the front page, that's no code. If you talk about our platform ACE, then there are some low code functionality. So for example, if we create a rule, then you use some low code, because if you create a rule, you can already select, I want to have an if then else rule. And if you select it first condition, you can choose from a drop down menu and select the right variable. So those are tools which already helps you creating the code. So I would place that in a more low code. But with the Builder.io no code platform, I used also some low code, because if you create the UI, and for example, I add some arrows where I can increase and decrease and the summary pane, for example, behind those arrows are a very simple if then else rule. So if I click, then the width should be changed from this summary pane. So it's a bit combination what you're using, and so it's not all no code, I would say. No.
Anything to add, Heiko? Otherwise, I pose the last question.
I think that's more the end user view and less to do with the components in behind.
The question says, it's a bit short. It says, for what scenarios or industry do you recommend a no-code product configurator? I'm guessing the person refers to some sort of general recommendation for a use case or an industry that he or she works in.
Don't know if I would put that on the industry.
I think many industries.
I would say it could help in any industry. It helps more if you really have many applications to integrate into. So if you just have one website configurator, you could kind of build it classical with a normal web development. But if you have to provide it into 10 different sales channels, then it makes a lot of sense to use a no-code platform, because then you can easily create these different templates. So that would be my perspective. It's less for a specific industry, like a machine building or a vehicle industry or something like that. I think any configurator could get benefits out of that, as long as you have multiple usages for your configuration, like the different sales channels we have, the PLM system, and so on. What do you think?
I think fully agree. It can be for multiple industries, I would say. If you have already configurators in place, no matter what industry it is, you can make use of no-code platforms. I don't think it makes a real difference for. I think you can use multiple industries. Yeah.
Since the advantage is really that you don't need a developer skilled person, you can use more or less any person who knows the business a little bit. That can make it also a little bit easier to find new employees for this area than for the development team.
Thank you so much to our presenters today, Michiel and Heiko.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
See you next time.